Hello everybody, welcome to this video. In this video I would like to talk to you about reality, and I'm just going to put some views, some ideas across, some thoughts, some imagery in the mind that you can think about. So I often, in my videos, you will realise I often talk about various philosophical information regarding a thing called Dao. D-A-O. Okay, Dao. Dao. I do speak Mandarin Chinese also. I'm originally from the UK, but I've spent nearly half my life in China, and I've spent more years than that. In fact, really studying the heck out of various aspects of Eastern philosophy and culture, and if you want to use that word, knowledge and wisdom, I guess. I'm very fascinated by ancient Chinese philosophy and also Japanese too, like stuff in Zen. But I've looked at all kinds of philosophies. You can find goodness from everywhere. It depends on who you are and how your mind works. Excuse me. Basically, so you might look into the Bible and find good things. You might look into a science book and find good information. But anyway, I'm not religious, or I don't follow any. What I mean by that is I don't follow any people's ideas. Just following what people think. Someone who's somehow popular amongst others, or even a group of people. What's the popular idea? I don't do that because I don't believe that's the way to go. I look at things that obviously relate to my own life and things that have shown themselves to me in a way that I understand as being factual and relevant to my life and realistic. And nature is the thing I look to. So nature being the main thing. Nature. Okay? Nature is the ultimate truth. Nature, not just like in water and plants and trees and all of the things we see in nature, animals, mountains. What about nature of all things? Excuse me, the entire universe. Okay, the whole cosmos. And I don't mean that we have to leave our minds or even leave this earth to contemplate faraway galaxies or aliens. No, I'm talking about the fact that there is truth in the substance of all that is. The things we're going to understand mostly are not always with the mind either thinking, it's the actual feeling of the body, like the human body. And the mind is like the driver of the vehicle, which is the body, right? And it should learn to take care of the body's needs. And without a mind, what can the body do either? And the body and the mind is also like, the main guiding the main true you within this outer vehicle of the body. The mind and body are one. Excuse me. Yeah, I believe, this is a fact, really, but I believe, let's be humble and say it that way, from my own perception of things, that life is not something you go through. It's not out there in the world outside of you, it's in here. It's what you are. And you are connected to all of the good things that allow you to live, and you'll never be connected to the things which don't serve you, in some, I should say, benefit your life, whether they don't benefit it or whether they're harming your life or whatever. But now there are two sides to everything. There are always two sides to everything, and that is the very concept of Tao. The Tao, sometimes pronounced Tao, T-A-O, but it's actually D-A-O in written alphabetical, letters. It's pinyin, basically. Tao, okay? The fourth tone in Mandarin Chinese. It's coming from obviously Taoism or Taoism, okay? Taoist, you may have heard this. Sometimes people pronounce it wrong as Tao or Tao. I used to have a book, the Tao of Jeet Kune Do, a Bruce Lee book. I've been studying martial arts. That's another thing I'll just mention quickly. I've been studying martial arts, some from Japan, mostly Chinese martial arts, all my life, since I was 12. And I've humbly learned a little bit, not so much in that little bit, that's helped me in my life. And that comes from, Eastern cultures and traditions. But traditions are, they're things that people create, right? But the Tao itself, the Tao, what is the Tao? The Tao basically means reality. Not subjective realities, like everybody has their own realities of, how they live their life, how they see things, how they do things, and what's real to them, might not be real to somebody else, and etc., etc. Their opinions, their viewpoints. No. Which is a true thing, their own emotional state and all the rest of it. But we're talking about the ultimate grand, this whole truth itself, that allows all of the individual people on the earth to have their individual ideas of truth, subjective truth. So we're talking about objective truth, universal. Anything that's a fact, factuality, reality, truth, and also nature. Because if something's not natural, it can't exist. Natural means basically that it came about by some real event or set of events in the first place. Now, we can talk about time and whether time has always been here and always will be, like infinite time, But we don't know about that. But, that's another whole thing, right? But what I'm trying to say is the basic thing in Taoism, and I'm not a religious person, and I think there are two sides to it. Like it's got the religious side. Some people say like a spiritual or something. I'm not into that. Okay, I don't know much about that. I don't look into things like that. It's even harder to look into anything regarding heavenly stuff, until you actually go there. If you do, But that's another whole topic that can be studied. Various spiritual things, spirit ghosts. Like deities and all that stuff, God, that's a whole different topic. It's like when you're talking about football, you don't talk about basketball, right? I'm talking about, and they may be related, maybe relation, maybe exercise in different fields, you see. Knowledge from true factual philosophy, which is not dreamy, poetic philosophy, but studying with the mind and the physical body as one, studying the evidence of all connection with all things in the natural physical world and the whole universal reality. I hope I'm not lost you so far before you get sucked into a black hole or a white hole or whatever hole, okay? And basically what I was saying is, like the philosophical side of the Tao, as written about in a wonderful. There are multiple books, a few good ones, but I know of. But there's a main book. My favorite book of all books is called the Tao Te Ching in Chinese. Tao Te Ching, and this was written by a wonderful, very wise man who just so happened to be Chinese, as the story, as the legend goes, whose name was Lao Tzu. Lao Tzu. Apparently, Lao Tzu just means old man or something like that. A simple name people called him. And he wrote this small book, the Tao Te Ching. And the book basically is sometimes pronounced in the West as Tao Te Ching, the Tao Te Ching, Tao Te Ching. And his name is also mispronounced as Lao Tzu, Lao Tzu. It's either that those are mispronunciations, and also Tao, of course, in Taoism, or they are, I don't know, maybe they are pronounced differently in other dialects. I just don't know. But I can speak Mandarin Chinese, most of it for the most part. I don't speak fluently, but I speak it on an everyday basis. You know, my wife's Chinese, and I've just I don't really speak English in my daily life to that extent. Only on videos or with friends and family online. But English is my first language because I'm British. Anyway, but so my life has been about studying the philosophy of the Tao for many years, and like Eastern philosophy and stuff like that. Not in a school or anything, just self-studying, looking into. Apart from the things I learned also without even knowing it at the time from various martial arts teachers and stuff I've had in my life. But I just study from other sources, videos, films, documentaries, e-books online, or just actual books, and things like that, old stories. And I look into all things like Zen, about stories about Zen, and koans, or whatever they're called, these old Japanese things I've read, and proverbs and all that of the East. I find it so very fascinating. Um, but I like the Tao Te Ching. This book is my favorite book of all books because it's so simple and so powerful, and it's the only book I've ever read that doesn't seem to point in the direction of like it derived from someone's thoughts. Like Lao Tzu was a writer. I mean, he wrote the book, right? He was a human who expressed some form of understanding in a written language, Chinese the original, you know, in a book. Just gave it out for the world, in his skill, his artistic way, with very simple sentences, simple little passages. It's a short book, but each one of those passages, each one of those little what do you call them, entries, these little sentences, that they tell you something. they they are timeless. And no matter what generation we're living in, what time, decade or whatever, no matter where you're from, what part of the world or what language, no matter what situation you're in, they refer to one or many different truths of how we live our lives. They all point towards one thing, that there are two sides to everything, and these two sides are called yin and yang, right? Yin yang. You may have seen a symbol. In Mandarin, it's pronounced yin and yang, yin yang. Okay, so yin and yang. So you've seen a symbol. You may have seen a symbol, right? It's like a circle with like it's split down the middle, and it's kind of like there's a wavy split like that of a line. Black and white, and you'll see a black circle in the white, a small black circle in the white side, and a small white circle in the black side. And also you'll notice that it gets smaller from one end and it gets bigger around the other end. And some people say that it looks like two fish, and it represents that they're constantly swirling. It's also, if you look at the tails, it looks like, the way I see it, like it's almost like a half. So like half. So like the two fish make one. It's just my own interpretation of that. But the idea is, as said, that the Tao, as written about in this wonderful book by Lao Tzu, which I highly recommend to those who are interested to have a look at it, have a good look into it, look at your lives, look at it through the years as they go by too. It's like looking through a clear window. It's like turning the light on. It's like taking a breath of fresh air, realizing you've still got lungs. It's like looking into a mirror that's clean. It's really is. It's amazing. I've found so much in it. It's not an emotional thing per se. It could be emotional, like anything could be. We do have emotions, human beings, and we do communicate. But the thing is, it's more like it's just factual sense. It's stuff that the body knows. It's how deep it is. It's not like the mind understands. It's not like you just grasp some principle, because it's the principles you live by, and your emotional or whatever it is, the ego that you attach yourself to, or your fears, or your whatever, what the things you like, just so you're going to agree with this writer or whoever says what. It's not like that. It is just truth, not even good or bad. It's just truth, and it's not to say that every sentence in the book is pointing towards an exact situation you've had in your life, but most of them, a lot of them, you can always liken to equivalent situations in your life that you have came across firsthand, or you've witnessed, secondhand or third hand, whatever, fourth hand, or could possibly come across that are realistic. And they all point to truth itself. It's the idea behind it as well. And that idea, or those ideas which make up the main idea, the truth, points you in such a way that you can always be more clear-headed and use this lesson to study what you're doing, and study what's going on in the world around you, to see what's true and what's not, better at least, and work with things in a more calm and relaxed way. The yin-yang symbol represents a constant flow, like it's constantly flowing. You may have heard Bruce Lee mention when he says, running water never goes stale, or something like that. You say you're going to keep on moving, right? So when you hear like martial arts like Tai Chi Chuan, for example, Tai Chi Chuan, which is a Tai Chi or Tai Chi Chuan, some people say Tai Chi, right? It's Tai Chi Chuan in Mandarin Chinese. Chuan, you will often see the word Chuan in at the end of like martial arts systems. Okay, doesn't matter which one. Xing Yi Chuan, Chang Chuan, Yong Chun Chuan. Chuan basically means fist, even Chuanji boxing. Baji Chuan, whatever. There's many different Chuans. Okay, Zui Chuan. Okay, different kinds of Tanglong Chuan. So many. Chuan basically means fist, but it means way in martial arts, the way. Okay, so this way. Martial arts are for self-defense and health. Right? They're not really meant for hurting people and competition. That's weak. Okay, it's for people to become better people. It teaches you honor, through realizing yourself, realization of yourself, and the value of life and all life. When you realize the value of your own life and you learn to respect yourself, you naturally should be able to see and understand there is no competition. Nobody's better than anyone. You can look at other people and have some dignity when you're around people, It's about. So anyway, so Chuan, okay. And yeah, so Tai Chi Chuan, for example, is a good example. Now in Tai Chi Chuan, it's about in Tai Chi, right? They're talking about the root and having a constant flow. And this constant flow of yin and yang, okay, which is basically the essence of the Tao in physical form, but martial arts brings the mind and body into an extra way of maintaining the body, a regular exercise to train your body. So you often see like old people doing it, don't want to get too stiff and old, and you know, their joints start getting bad. Even me, I'm 43 in this video almost, and the body just starts to get. You can feel it as you get older. So I have to do a regular workout, right? And I do my martial arts, basic stretching, etc. You've got to keep active, to keep flowing. The blood flows through your body, right? Um, do anything. Go for a walk if you can. Just keep moving. The essence of the Tao is in everything. The constant flow of yin and yang, basically. It's a constant flow. Life is a constant flow. Everything changes. The seasons change. You know, people. Many things in your life will change. Right, when something's coming, something else is going. You know what I mean? Give and take. You know, hot and cold. All it is. You know what I mean? You know, paying and gaining. You know, losing and gaining. You know what I mean? Just can't think of it. Communication, love, you know, communication, understanding, learning, and the effort you put into training, the exercising, or whatever it is, you get something out from it. So there's always there. There's always two sides, and the idea is it's like that. Okay, you don't see life like you don't see things in a negative way. You see things in a logical way more over time. We're all human. We all get stressed out, but you seem to be able to be more clear about things, more accurate. And you look at it in that way. It reminds you too that, you know, things aren't as bad as they could be. You know, they're worse than they could be, but they're not as worse as they could. They're not as worse as they could be. You know, they're worse than they could be, and they're not as worse as they could be. You know, and they're better than they could be, but they're not as good as they could be. See? And it's not a bad thing. It's a lesson for life. See, health, also time, many things. Your strength, your energy, what you're using, what you're not using. You learn about movement and stillness. It's like the essence of the Tao is in when you train Kung Fu and Kung Fu, you know. It's also the lesson for your whole life, you see. So that's what you learn. And the Tao basically talks about two different sides to everything. Even like talking about when we have something or nothing. So when you have nothing, it's an empty space in a cup, great, you can fill it with water, right? It's the vessel that's useful. Or an empty bag, you can carry stuff, right? If you have some free time, you can do stuff, right? If you've got an empty mind, you're ready to learn things better now. So empty your cup, right? Because if you keep filling that cup up with water, eventually it's going to overflow. So if you've got a mind full of ideas, it's hindering you from learning new things. You put your own ideas aside for a moment and be ready to learn something new. Don't keep talking over people. Okay. In Chinese, there's a sentence which goes, 会说的不如会听的. 会听的. So it means basically, 会说的 means like someone that can talk, you know, talk the talk. 不如会听的. So it means is not better than someone who is good at listening. If you're a good listener, it's better than being a good talker, right? You may have heard another sentence, something that goes something like this. Another sentence a long time ago, which is, you know, there's a lot of old proverbs that I like. See, old like Eastern proverbs, such as like a closed mind is like a closed book, just a block of wood. Another one says, when you want to know how deep the water is, don't jump in with 2 feet. You know, just test it with one first. Don't get yourself into difficult situations where, you know, you're maybe stuck. You might not be able to come back from. You know, don't go the whole thing. Always save some careful space between yourself. You know, don't tell everyone, like someone, all of your information, or don't go trusting someone, following some stranger off somewhere. You know what I mean? We learn these when we're young. We should be wise as we go. Don't run out into the road. Like, for example, you check the traffic lights, but you don't look for cars. That's like jumping in with both feet already. You check that, double check, or look again. Just it's okay to be. You can't be too careful. It's better to be. Well, don't be hesitant, but don't be rushing. You see, Bruce Lee talked about not dreaming. Was it yet not thinking, but not dreaming? You have to become one with the essence, one with the target. It's a great episode of one of the old 1970s Kung Fu episodes where they talk about this, about archery. It's not always about hunting, but like focusing on the target, becoming one with the target. You realize in life, the target shouldn't always be about firing towards a goal either. Life now, become at one piece with yourself. And then you will always go more, let's say, towards whatever good targets are there, the doors open, which are for you. There's something in there, I think in Buddhism, I'm not too sure, something about Buddha saying in one of the books, was it about different doors? There's a million different doors, I know there's only, was it the right doors are for the right people, basically, you know what I mean? Just like that, it's like everybody has a unique body and various things. Some people have allergies, they can't eat certain things, right? Some people, just certain things work better for them, how they exercise or what they can eat and drink, whatever it might be, what kind of music they like. There's different reasons for different things. You can go deeper into that, why the mind works a certain way to like something or not, or how the body's feeling more comfortable in a certain way. There's health of mind and body. And having some philosophy and some knowledge, Eastern, Western, whatever, or philosophical stuff, is not necessarily the ultimate medicine. Of course, you have to do things physically in the essence, not just the knowledge, the physical essence of the reality that we're living on this earth. What kind of things are good for your health or bad for you, or your safety. Don't want to harm yourself, right? But the knowledge is like the mind's language type way, or branch, I should say. The knowledge, the philosophy, is a language in your mind, even if you're just thinking, even another branch of this overall learning of your being, because the mind and body is all one thing. There's so many things that our bodies are always in connection with when it comes to the Tao. And the Tao is like a physical reality. Obviously, it's just a word that was created, a Chinese word. Obviously, the philosophy written in the book is a written, piece of work written in the Tao Te Ching by Lao Tzu, for example, the old philosopher. But it represents truth, things that we should all be able to see. There are two sides to everything: a man, a woman, hot, cold, big, small, fast, slow, hard, soft, this kind of thing, right? What else? Front, back, top, bottom, inside, outside, light, dark. When you're painting a picture, I love drawing and painting on my computer digitally. When you're painting, you need to have composition of where things are: close, far, big, small, different colours, how they relate. The dark shows the light and the light shows the dark. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So, and it's the same with sounds. So the drums, if you're playing some music, or the piano notes, the high notes, the low notes, things complement each other. It's not like a fight, but they've got their place. If yin has no yang, then it can't exist. There cannot be one side without the other side. There has to be two sides. You think about that. There can be no front without back. There can be no winning without losing, or you might say, right? It just depends how you look at it. But a lot of things like winning and losing, or morality, right and wrong, those things are human mind concepts. You see? But like, there is such thing as like winning, but so there's only existence or non-existence. Life and death, obviously, like the body, when someone dies, the physical body may become dust or whatever, leaves rot into the ground, and things. There's different elements of the earth. China had a lot of interesting ancient knowledge, like things about the five elements you may have heard of. There's different kinds of books on that, and in Japan, different in their culture too. But you've got like that, and you've got things like lots of deep knowledge in those areas, So it's in biology of things, it's in science, Chinese, in China, have had a lot of ancient, like wisdom, ancient very fine, what can I say, like knowledge, information. Like you hear things like acupuncture and stuff like that, and there's different Chinese medicines and things that have worked over the years. Very knowledgeable stuff about the stars. The stars, you get this astrology. There's a lot of interesting things you can look into. How they line up, and knowledge, but human civilizations in general. But we're all kind of limited in how we, in many areas. But when it comes to the Tao is just clearly truth. You don't even have to know a complete answer to something. It's just truth is truth, and everything has two sides. Now, when you look at something, it may be hard to understand what side is what side. Is like you may look at something and think you're seeing two sides, but you're not really seeing it. Like you break things up, see, like right and wrong. That's from your own observation, see. But really, it's what is and what isn't. Is it reality or it's not reality? So I used to say everything is nothing and nothing is everything. A philosophy that one of my sentences that I brought up a long time. I also said when you're present, be present but not present. When you're not present, be was it not present but present. I had this little book I used to write down these things many years ago, a little philosophy book of mine. I didn't realise I was actually going deeper and deeper into what the Tao actually already is talking about. But anyway, just saying some ideas of what people could look, how people could look at things. Now we have everything, time, matter, everything in the whole universe you can imagine, physically that exists, all existing phenomena. That, as far as I can see, is the physical body of the Tao, not just the idea. It's reality, right? What we have is what we can work with, and we can learn from. But you can learn from good and bad, winning and failing, whatever, success and failure. That's just human concepts as well. But the opposite side to real, to existence, existence is non-existence. And what is it? That is a true thing. It is a reality that there is also nothing, right? We could say. Well, it's conceivable, even though we can't really conceive it. We can't really understand it too well. Did I say conceivable? Perceivable. It's very hard to fathom, but it's we just say this idea. Okay, there is non-reality for the basic part. Your reality and non-reality, right? If reality therefore is infinite, maybe then it could encompass that as well. But that's part of it. But whatever this nothing is, this non-existence, if it's real, which it probably is, because if the Tao represents infinite possibilities, if so. And don't forget, yin and yang, both two sides do exist. So if everything we have is here, and the Tao represents everything, it's got to represent, as far as it would seem, that there must be nothing also. Everything that we have represents everything, that the other side to what doesn't exist, right? And the other way is the other way. So there must be a non-existence for this existence to be. All of the people that are not you, so therefore you are here, right? Not necessarily. You may not have been born still, right? We could say, but I'm just giving you an idea, right? And vice versa. Anyway, non-existence, that nothingness is truly nothingness. It really is nothing. It's real, but it's nothing. Going back to some of those proverbs for a second, there are things you hear like the Shaolin man, the philosophy about the Shaolin man. It is said, it was also from the Kung Fu series, a nice little sentence. It goes, it is said, that a Shaolin man can walk through walls. Looked for, he cannot be seen. Listened for, he cannot be heard. Felt, he cannot be touched. And that can mean many things, say, in your life. That can, for example, maybe saying the wise man. The wise one is in the essence of the Tao. He cannot be manipulated twisted to be somehow not true. How can you take truth and make it not true? You cannot make truth non-truth, right? It just is true no matter how you do it. It always wins. It's ungraspable and breakable like water. Exactly. But it's there giving us the essence of energy, like water does, giving us life. So, and there are other sentences too that say, if you want to know the road ahead, ask those coming back. But what you're really doing is you're studying yourself again as you're going along. But again, so honesty is the way. So, but yeah, I love all these poems. There's another one. These sentences and proverbs. There's one about painting legs on a snake. It's an old story about two kids that were asked by an old man, like given a task of drawing an animal in the sand that was instantly recognizable, and he gave both kids a stick, and he said, "Go." And one kid drew. The two kids drew a line in the sand each, and one kid stopped, but the other kid kept on adding legs to it to draw an animal, right? And the other kid won because it was instantly recognizable. This line or this wavy line he drew, there you go, it's a snake. But the other one was adding more details, and he was overthinking things. Sometimes more is less and less is more. You see what I'm saying? This is another philosophy in the Tao. So everything is resembling that, you see. Sometimes fast is slow or slow is fast, right? But he was overthinking. He didn't have to do all that. So he was teaching people to be simple. How can we be simple in some situations that are quite complicated, bamboozling, and really, really like upon you in the moment? You might panic, slow down, then you're trying to think and work out from whatever angle. You're trying to analyze different angles so you can find the right angle. Like fumbling through your bag, trying to find the keys. Maybe some woman's trying to find her phone, or find that money or something you've got in a box or something. And it's like, if you're simple, things will fall into order. That's what they're saying. If you're as simple as the Tao, not giving yourself too much extra work, later on, see, that's before and after. So you keep your house nice and tidy, you can find everything you need. If it's a cluttered house, later on you have problems. Prevention's better than cure. Better to take an umbrella if it's raining, right? Otherwise you'll be soaking wet, wondering what to do. So you'll find what you want. Everything will be there for you. It was also mentioned in The Matrix. I mean, in the movie when Morpheus is talking to Neo, one thing he says, you need to wake up. You've been living in a dream world. We see all this fake stuff around us in society, but we're not seeing the actual nature of things and reflecting within ourselves about what we're really doing to see the world, what's real or not. And he says to Neo, Morpheus says to Neo in The Matrix, he says to him, what was it? Oh, God. That was basically one thing he said. Basically, you're living in a dream world. You need to wake up, But that was it. Yeah, he said. You said something about dodging bullets. He said because Neo asked Morpheus, "What are you saying?" Because he says, Morpheus says to Neo, he says, "What are you waiting for? You're faster than this, right? You're faster than this." When they're fighting, when they're sparring with their kung fu in the dojo, Chinese martial art, Japanese dojo, but anyway. And he says, and Neo is a bit surprised. He says, "What are you saying?" And I can dodge bullets. He says, "No, Neo." He says, "What I'm saying, I'm saying that when you're ready, you won't have to. You won't need to run here, run there, and be rushing around and like in your life basically. That's what, trying to deal with things, trying to find out what the hell, where am I supposed to be going? You'll know it'd be instinctive. When you find yourself again, when everything's intact here, everything will be intact. It is not the spoon that bends, it is yourself. See? People are focusing on the spoon too much. People are focusing on so many aspects, of the chef or the writer, that they don't get the taste, the flavor of the food. They focus on the wrong things, and the show of everything, that they miss what's really like not being said. You know what I mean? Like I said, and again, it's the spaces between the notes in music, and like the nothing, the spaces and the silent moments that allow there to be, the rhythm and the melody, the tune of all the notes and the hits of the drums. Um, Taste as well. Another one I like. Old proverb. Something. They say after. I think it's after 3 days without reading, talk becomes flavorless. Good one, yeah. Also, because it's saying like, I think what it's saying is like, you kind of had nothing to talk about unless you read something more. It's also saying, if you don't observe new things, you won't have anything to talk about. There'll be nothing of interest for you or anyone. It may not even necessarily always mean that you have to seek more different things or new knowledge. Because you could travel around the world and not see much, do things in a rush, read a book fast and not really understand it. But if you watch a movie more times or spend more time and do things in repetition, there'll be growth. The same as exercise. If you're stretching or doing some weights or exercising your body, some movements, some martial arts, you'll get stronger. You'll improve yourself with that repetition, right? Muscle memory, mind memory for languages, all that repetition is key, right? And so it's the same thing. If you read more things and analyze it more, spend more time with that person, really listen, try to understand their heart, and spend more time just being peaceful with yourself, understanding what you're really about and thinking about it. How much of me is interested in that? How much of me really does need to follow those people? If it, come back to the self and value yourself a bit more. Don't say, here I am so small and so weak. So here I am, so with so much potential. When I'm smaller in the world, they say when the smaller you are, there's no place for you to fall. You know, if you're big, so massive, there's nowhere for you to stand. If you're bigger than the earth, and so heavy that you just crush the ground underneath your feet. And every time you speak, you're so loud and so scary that everybody runs off away from you. And you push everyone and everything so far away, or you run away. It's the same thing. See, you reject all knowledge. You reject having more because you make the world so small and try to crush it into your hands and hide it in darkness. You can't even see when you're in the darkness. So you need to allow there to be light. Be the source. The light from the sun only comes from where? The source of the sun, the heart of the sun itself. It's not going to be from the moon. It's two different things. So you are like a sun yourself. So you will never be good at the things that you don't have the power for. It must come from you, your own true source. So, like Mr. Miyagi said in Karate Kid about painting a picture, you haven't got to think about if it's going to be the right one or whatever. If it's coming from you, yeah, it's always the right one. It comes from your heart. But you need to understand the human and the nature of things before you just get too confused and trying to work out what you should do or how to please someone. In your heart is filled with emotions in your mind, of cluttered images and voices of people and noise drowning your thoughts out. You need to have peace, but not peace like a victory over things. A constant struggle that in your mind that, oh, I've still not won yet. You're always a winner, you're here. For someone who's always fighting, never wins. It's just exhausting. And the more tired you get, the more weak you get, possibly sick. And more sickness, less health, guess what? That's closer to death. Life should be health and happiness. If you're healthy, you're happy. If you're happy, you're healthy. It's a strength thing, I think. Someone who's really sick with cancer or has a bad injury, guess what? You've still got your life. And, as long as you are strong enough to overcome, that's the main thing, That focus on the good in the life. Don't focus on what you don't have, unless it's a useful thing for you. You know, um, if the police or some detectives or police officers are looking for someone who stole candy sweets, and there's only a few people in the room, and maybe the criminals did, but they've hidden them somewhere or chucked them away, and you're standing there with candy sweets in your pocket. There you go. See, and the police might check you out, and they might think it's you. But it's like if you don't have any on you, then it's a good thing. So sometimes that's good. You don't always have to be around people. You should be able to find sanity within yourself. I think it must, because otherwise life will be so hard for you. Now, yin and yang, okay, is basically two sides. It's two sides to everything. It teaches you a lot about life. And as you go through life, you'll be looking back on your past and looking forward to the future, missing the now very often. Living in memory, as the wise Krishnamurti once said. Just in memories. Fears of the past, and concerns for how you should behave now. Not and because you're trying to not really focus on now and be calm about it. You're just burning your mind out, trying to work out what to do to prevent bad things happening in the future, or to not come across in a bad way to others. You're worried about that. You're concerned with how you are portrayed by others, how you are perceived by others in their minds. You want to be accepted and fit in with people's games, basically, within the fake system of society. Nature comes first. You don't have to leave your comfortable home and technology, the good stuff, to go. And then to go and live in a forest or live in a cave or some underground tunnel. I'm not saying that, okay? The essence of nature is in the natural things, yes. But the essence of nature is in also the whole of all of what naturally exists. We create buildings, we create machines, people create guns and weapons, which are terrible things because they harm people. They're weapons for either defending yourself against a would-be attacker or being an attacker, right? Well, but it's like, no use. Bombs, and what's the use in that? We don't need that stuff. Right? But people also have developed languages. They've developed many traditions and things which is like prideful symbolism as well. Fashion statements, things like that. What's the trendy thing? But they've also created good things, such as technology that we use, computers, AI. Anyway, reality is here. We are in this reality. But what we should remember is we are made of atoms and cells, as I always say. Bone, flesh, blood, and hair. Doesn't matter what t-shirt you're wearing or shoes. No. The idea that you have an expensive watch, expensive chain around your neck. Prices are made up. Money is made up by human beings. Everything. All this stuff in society is made up. People go crazy about this stuff. They become violent over it too, and fight and hurt each other over this stuff. Really? You need to find peace in yourself and stop competing and comparing yourself to others. If you don't have this understanding and sanity, then you won't do better in general. But if you keep on striving to be a better you, you might miss the whole foundation, which is the you now as you are. Imperfect, but perfect. Without ego. Peace and truth is here. You're unique, so there is no competition. There's only one you. See, this is the only way you can actually make any progress in anything that you want to do. But anything you do, anything you make, shouldn't be a competition thing or like a statement like, I have to show the world this so that I have value. No, you have value already. That you may show the world a lot of things and say a lot of things in your life. Not everything may be seen or heard by others. But you need to hear it. And sometimes we can spend a lot of time talking and thinking in language, but sometimes you just know it innately. Certain things you just know. You should be so aware of your life right now. You're made up of these building blocks. They say quarks, Q-U-A-R-K. Yes. Whatever is the smaller energy. You're made of this stuff. Here you are. You should know this instinctively, faster than when your nose can smell curry or a rose or cut grass. You walk outside, you smell cut grass, or some fireworks nearby, or whatever the burning smell. You should already be aware that you're living, the same as you breathe naturally. I've been breathing while I've been talking to you. I didn't even realize. So sweating when it's hot, it's just a natural thing. So the Tao, the Tao Te Ching, this book, the Tao Te Ching talks about the Tao. It's talking about two sides to everything. It's very, very fascinating. And this is a book that's really helped me in my life, I'll say that, to realize things that I already kind of knew, the foundation. We all do. The trees know it. They might not think like we do. Trees, the birds and the bees, the dogs, Not all truth, very little truth, I should say, is to be found in the words of people, the actions of people. Not to teach you to distrust in people or doubt people. No, that is also a kind of deliberate thinking. When you force things deliberately and try to push things and manipulate and change things and break things or fix things or change things or move things, you try to do all that stuff to things outside of you. A lot of the time, not all the time, but a lot of the time, we don't know what we're doing. It's got nothing to do. The truth is the truth. So the Tao is a very, very interesting, I can't say concept. It's a very true thing. It's very, very interesting to study. So that's what I've found from my study of it. And we can talk about this more, talk about various aspects of your life. Any situation you look at, you can look at it from different sides. And you'll realize that it's not how you look at it. It's not like, you look at your hand. I've got, like I said before, what is the opposite of this hand? Well, maybe open or closed. Maybe left hand or right hand. Maybe the back of the hand or the inside of the hand, right? No. The true opposite of this hand is no hand, right? Pen, book, car, friend, clock on the wall, but the time is in here. Light in the bulb, but light is because you have eyes. But don't strain your eyes looking so hard that you don't see things clearly. Don't listen so hard that you don't hear what's said. Right? Your eyes receive the light. Your ears receive the sound. I heard an interesting talk by Alan Watts talking about this once too. When you taste, you taste. You feel, you feel. And you smell, you smell. When you live, you live. When you sleep, just sleep, as they say, right? When you eat, you just eat. It's just a natural thing. Everything should be a natural way. When people act confident and show boldness, they're usually nervous and try to hide their fear. But some people believe that, you know, it's wrong. You can't have any concern about things. That's also wrong. It's a natural thing. But you need to understand your fears. What is dangerous? Being overconfident or over nervous can cause you some problems. And it could be a rational thing, but it may not be. But the mind itself doesn't change things, and neither do your words change someone's mind. If they think a certain way, that's what they feel. You can't change a person how they are. You can't make you know, you can't make a coconut tree a banana tree. You just can't do that, So this is the main thing, right? But your mind can't make things a certain way. So it's just understanding of things. And you can see it's a big rock. I can't lift it, this boulder. I'm holding this cup, it's really hot, burning bowl of food. I put it down, right? When you understand things, you'll understand what is you and what is not you in the context of the world we're living in. Overall, everything's connected to the universe. But when you are small, you're able to connect with the essence of all good knowledge and things you can learn by observing from the good and the bad. You don't have to become this one, follow that one, lose yourself. You can be 100% you of this universe of abundance, basically, is what I'm trying to say. You need to put down the bad things, the bad habits. Avoid those who are stuck in confusion and negative, Thank you for watching this video. We'll talk more in future. It's time for me to go to sleep. About 14 minutes past 3, and I do thank you for watching. Do take care of yourselves. I'm happy if you enjoy this video. Just a little chat with me about some interesting philosophy and things that I like and I find useful in carrying a person through life. You take care. Always be healthy and as safe as you possibly can be. Okay. Yep.